Welcome back to the desk. It's IEM Shanghai. We're having another great day here. And two very good matches going on right now. On the laptop, James, who do we have?
We have Hero versus Time. And it started off pretty cheesy. And there's currently 4 oracles flying around with Hero trying to do stuff. He started with a pylon rush at the front, and then he had his natural blocked by an eBay. So he had to take his base at the front and Proxima Station. It's all kind of wild.
Okay. We'll check back in on that after we get this next match started. But it's going to be soO against solar, which makes me think that's a ZvZ. Maynard, why are you up here? Why are you not casting this ZvZ?
Well, I mean, Pig will be, thankfully. So,
okay.
You know, that's
Solo.
I mean, at least one Australian's casting a ZvZ here, which is very, very important.
As the Zerg rises as a race, especially like within Europe, I feel like they're like, okay, get the Aussies on the plane. We got to bring them over.
Well, it's actually, funnily enough, that was kind of like the deal back in the day, but it's all about the Terrans for a little while, and now it's all about Probe, who's our Protoss representative. So we've actually had all 3 races represented pretty well from our country now.
That, while that's true, you know, the stereotype, I think, will remain, and we will continue to put you on ZvZs
the
as much as possible.
Australia memes will continue forever.
That rise began with Moonglade, and then Moonglade was evolved out as Pig kind of rose. Yeah. And then eventually it'll be you, Maynard.
Yeah. I actually started as Zerg as well before I switched to Terran and Swarm.
Wow. So. You do kind of look like Kerrigan, so it makes sense.
Or Tosh, who's a Terran.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Okay, so our next match, soO versus Solar. You know, we've been talking a lot about how, like, Solar's probably the best Zerg in the world. It's maybe you could argue Dark or something, but Solar, guys, he's underrated. This guy's undervalued in every way, I feel like. Who has the edge going in here?
I mean, my brain wants to give it to Solar here because I feel like Solar has played these important ZvZs in very, very important moments. Obviously, this matchup gave him his SSL victory against Dark, who is also one of the best Zergs in the whole world. soO as well, one of the the 3 Zergs are in contention for the world's best. But Solar, I think he's feeling a little bit of momentum. He's feeling good. This is a winner's match here. So be pretty sick to see what happens.
I feel like Solar has to be a bit more hungry coming into this tournament as well, because soO currently is ranked #2 in WCS Korea, whereas Solar is ranked 11th. He may have got a few more points after that victory, I'm not quite sure. But overall, he needs good points, and this is a great opportunity for him to get those and propel himself into that top 8.
Yeah, there's 1,500 points on the line for first place. You take down this IEM, so definitely something that the guys that aren't already locked in, like soO or the tournament winners, Gumiho stats, you know, TY, that it's super, super important here. But dude, I don't know. I look at it, and soO is a monster in ZvZ. Like, it's so hard to take him down for anybody, and he's such a complete Zerg until that finals.
You say he's a complete Zerg, though, but he is probably the most studied player on the planet because we've seen him year after year go into GSL finals over and over and over. I think there's no circumstance where soO hasn't been kind of heavily studied by any player.
It's a really good point, James. He's actually probably played more series than Solar on stage because of he's getting so deep in all these tournaments. But, you know, Solar, like I said, his mastery of this matchup kind of hasn't dissipated, I feel. Like, whenever I see him play his ZvZ, it's pretty cool, calm, and collected. But that said, when I see Solar's games, they're not always up against soO. Okay. So that is got the question mark in my brain here. I'd say that if this was say Dark, or if it was like a lesser Zerg, I would say that very, very likely Solar. But I'm 50-50 on this one now.
50-50.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't choose it.
Okay, but I mean, a Bailing is rolling towards you. Who do you choose?
Bailing's rolling towards. Do I have +1 armor or not?
You do not have +1 armor.
Damn, okay, look, I have
Which unit are you right now? What are you thinking about? This Bailing has +2 attack, just so you know. So, and it's got speed.
It's a spell, mate. Okay. we got to go for, I'd have to say Solar. That was my initial pick, so I'll just go for him again.
Okay. Yep. Solar, you, James.
I'm going to go with soO. I think that he can still go the whole way in these tournaments, and then from there, be in a good spot.
I think I do have to go with you. Like, I have this whole thing in my head where soO's going to get 2nd place in basically every tournament this year and then win BlizzCon. That's what I'm going with.
That's the dream scenario.
Well, that would be the craziest thing, right? What if he actually, after 2 2nd places in GSL, you know, gets out of this group in 1st place, maybe destroys his round of 8, round of 4, and then just loses in the finals?
Actually, I also have to bring up the fact that your predictions have actually been pretty good this tournament, which is scary. Like, we're in uncharted territory here. Like, this very well could be a soO win now. I'm actually worried about my prediction.
Yeah, well, you should be, I think. I mean, do not doubt this guy unless he's in that finals. Guys, it is time to get into the game. Let's throw it over to the caster rivals of Pig and Roddy.
Thank you very much, Artosis, and for the guys on the desk there with the analysis. We are about to be hopping into a powerhouse Zerg versus Zerg. We are going to be spawning in here on Odyssey in the bottom right-hand side. In the red, it is soO.
The man who just loves those second place checks.
Oh, yeah. You know,
collects them.
Doesn't want to deny anyone a championship. He's happy to be in second place.
My theory is that once upon a time he got his first second place and he just suffers from a severe case of OCD and he's like, well, I just always need to get second now. That's what I think, Pig.
It definitely could be that way. And of course, this guy up here would like him to not even make it out of the group, the blue Zerg. It is soO.
Yeah, soO having a tough road, obviously, in this group. First series against Hero, now second series against soO. This is going to be a fun one, though. Some good old ZvZ. These two have played quite a few times against each other over the years. While we do see soO with a more aggressive opening. Very aggressive. All night long, you hatch first, and now he doesn't. But on the other end, soO is also having a relatively safe opening, so this should actually work out all right for soO, unless he decides to go a little too greedy. But just some quick numbers, because I think it's interesting when you look at these two world-class Zerg players. 13 series against each other in total. Score is 8-5 in favor of soO. But I have to admit there, obviously that's a decent lead for soO. I also feel that soO wins the bigger series. soO often wins one online or in an online cup. But when you look at the GSL round of 32 or stuff like that, it's often be soO who wins the more important series. Yeah. And obviously, winners match Group C here at the Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai 2017. I qualify as a very big game. So I'm kind of leaning towards soO as well, but we will see how this series plays out.
Well, interestingly enough, looking at the openings, things are about to heat up Rotterdam. We've got a
Everything
huge
heats up in Shanghai, Pig.
Everything. Absolutely everything. Because we have got a ton of Zerglings going across the map here, Kevin. And this has been hidden. But this is what you expect when you go up against soO. All throughout Legacy of the Void, he always rushes early Zerglings, like every second Zerg versus Zerg. He does this so much. soO has played very safe, but he needs to spot it.
He's making drones, though. He has opened up very, very safe, and he does have an incredibly quick bailing nest, but I still think he's going to be in a little bit of trouble, as Zergling's speed is about to finish up. This queen is obviously going to be in trouble. Good job, though, by soO, at least getting a couple of extra volleys out of this queen, as he tucks it in between, you know, that Vespian guys are in the mineral patch, but it's still going to fall very, very quickly. Now let's see what soO decides to go for.
Oh, he's just going to try and get as many drone kills as he can. Not going to focus down that hatchery too much just yet. The queen pops out, is exposed. The drones already are fighting. Good micro from soO here, protecting that queen, using the drones to buffer. So the drones are getting dangerously low.
Yeah, he needs the links quickly, because like you said, a lot of these drones are falling incredibly low on HP. Good micro down the queen. The queen is still alive, but 9 drones did go down. And there is still plenty of Zerglings. He's morphing those, I think, a little too early, right?
Oh, I'm not quite sure. If we can get them up, that'll be great. But already more drones taking a lot of losses here. One more drone goes down. soO here, going to be able to snipe down those banelings.
That could be it.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty much all she wrote right here. soO went for such a safe opening, but he somehow missed the Zerglings. He actually sent 2 Zerglings around the edges of the map. His Overlords just barely missed them. soO knew the perfect path. Made his way across here, surprised soO, completely caught him off guard. Takes a quick game 1 victory.
Well done there by soO. Obviously, beautiful execution of that very aggressive opening that he decided to go for. I don't know if it would have made a difference, but I do think that soO got over-eager there in the end, morphing those links into Banes. Because at that point, the Zergling numbers, at least in the main, obviously there were more links on the way for soO, but the amount of links that were actually there, I think if he just fights, then he trades it off, sort of. And
the damage of 2 Zerglings is pretty big, right? I mean, we were talking 4-6 Zerglings fighting, and I know anytime you've got these high damage units, it's the same with Marine versus Marine, Zergling versus Zergling. If you get an advantage, you start to knock down your opponent's force really quickly, and you often end up surviving with a whole bunch of Zerglings that are very damaged, but none of them have actually died. And that's exactly what happened for soO there, of course, being a couple Zerglings higher, overwhelmed, and then got on top of the drones.
Yeah, even though it was a safe opening for soO, and he did get a very quick defensive bailing nest, I think if he would have stopped droning, let's say 2 or obviously preferably 3 drones earlier, he would have been more than all right. Second place score is 1-8 record in grand finals. Actually got a second place as well. You know, I always remember that you were there too, because I forgot. But a tournament that was kind of funny was the Intox 3 Masters Gamescom. I believe it was 2015, but I could be wrong.
Yep.
Because that was like a 5-day tournament. But I looked at the player lineup and I'm like, we can also skip the first 4 days and just play the grand final between soO and Innovation, because, you know, even though we had Fantasy and I think maybe 4GG was there, maybe even Polt was there, I know Lambo made it into the top 8 I think back then, but I was like, the final is definitely going to be soO versus Innovation unless the brackets are rigged, and in the end that was the final.
It worked out that way. soO always finds his way that deep, man, and we could foretell that one from a while away. Of course, the man himself, down here in the bottom left, it is soO.
Defender's Landing is our map, and if you guys thought that Odyssey was quick, I mean, this one should be a little bit longer because aggression is written all over this map, but I've seen shorter games on this map.
Yeah, absolutely, and soO's going to be going very aggressive again. Of course, his opponent up here in the top right, it is soO.
He's been watching Rounders, man. Teddy KGB. Did you watch the movie?
No,
it's awesome. It's like this Russian badass, like poker room owner. He's like, very aggressive. Now, whenever somebody plays aggressive, then all I hear is, it's a classic. You should watch it once.
All right, I got to check that one out, man. Getting the film recommendations
Matt
here.
Damon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I somehow have literally never even heard of this movie.
It's very old, and Matt Damon was incredibly young back then. Anyways, we see Solar once again going for the expand, so it's going to be a little bit rough, but hopefully he just stops droning a little bit earlier, because, I mean, last game I think he went up to 20 drones, which is quite a few.
And I think on different sort of rush as well, right? There's going to be a Baneling Nest follow-up, I believe, here. So it's going to be a lot more all-in from soO. There's not going to be any expansion behind this. And I think this time, I don't see how he could possibly evade that Overlord. You're probably about to touch on that, how the Overlord gets there much quicker here, right?
Yeah, obviously, it's a much smaller map. So we'll see what soO decides to do, but I mean, you see Solar right now, 17 drones. That's a lot better than the 20 that he had on Odyssey. This time the Overlord is going to spot these links immediately, and you're about to find out what kind of a difference 3 drones can make when you're being rushed by your opponent.
Yeah, we got the Spine Crawler going down is a good choice there from Solar, and oh wow, he's being so conservative. He's dropping it in his main mineral line. He's trying to get Zerglings out. He's going to fight for a little bit, see if he can take a decent trade here and there. His aim will be to defend his natural expansion, but if he has to give it up, I think he'll be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a situation where you don't really want to find yourself in. I have the feeling we might run that Spine Crawler down, even though if he would have done that, maybe he would have put it closer towards the ramp. Ooh. So we'll see. This time, obviously, a couple of Banelings in the mix for soO as well, so it is a different ballgame. He's going to try to lock these Zerglings out.
Good splits there from Solar. Spreads out the Zerglings, snipes down the Banelings. He does take an okay trade, but soO's still getting good service area, good surround, very efficient cleanup from soO.
Yeah, look at the HP on a couple of those links as well. So far, soO could not have handled this any better, but now the Queens is going to show up as well. These Queens are a little bit exposed. Where are the links for Solar? They're about to show up. One Queen is probably going to fall, but I don't think the second one will. soO being a little indecisive there.
He lost a lot of Zerglings there because of that indecision that you pointed out, Roddy, and now Solar has managed to hold on for the moment. This Queen doing work on top of this ramp. All of these Zerglings of soO going down. The Queen still stands, and that opens up the window for the Spine Crawler to move to the natural.
3 drones pick. That's the difference that 3 drones can make. Even though this is an even smaller map, and it's a slightly different build order for soO, obviously, because he does have the Baneling Nest this time. But you can just see the difference. This time, Solar defends it excellently. I really don't think it could have gone much better for him. Pull the Queens at the right moment. soO probably should have tried to go for the hatch, was tried to see if he could fight those Queens when they're a little more exposed. But just well done by Solar. Excellent defense.
He's got 2 bases up now. A second Queen is out on the way. He's already out. A third Queen is on the way. And Solar here continuing to be aggressive. A lot of Zerglings going across the map. He's going to try and snipe that Baneling. soO's going to have to come home to try and defend this.
Yeah, I mean, Solar has way more units out on the map right now than soO. Solar is on 2 bases, soO is on 1. The only thing that soO is going for himself is that he has a couple of Banelings, which is obviously nice, but Solar is normally way too good of a Zerg to just run all of his Zerglings into a single Bane. And Solar is just loving life right now. He's like, yeah, sure, let's dance. I've got 2 bases, you've got 1. This is good for me, buddy.
Solar is just making sure he gets further ahead right now. He's got a second Spine Crawler on the way, as well as a 4th Queen. He's started to add a drone here or there as well. Zergling's just taking any fight they can. He knows if he can just trade evenly, it's good for him because he has a much, much bigger economy.
Yep, and as long as he keeps soO on his side of the map, he has no worries at all. I mean, this means extra energy on these queens, dude. The queens are already hard to deal with early on. We still have a couple of banelings on the left side, too. I think this is going to be it. It's everything or nothing for soO. And I hate to be anticlimactic, Pig, but this seems like it's going to be nothing. As Solar is in the main base as well with a lot of Zerglings, and there is just nothing going soO's way this game.
How are you going to break through that as soO, 4 queens on the ramp, transfusers dropping on the spine. soO cannot find the damage, and this time Solar holds on against the 13-12 Zergling Baneling rush. Ties it up 1-1.
Yeah, excellent defense there. In the beginning, I was a little bit worried because I love the way it started off for soO. He picked up a couple of links. He did a good job splitting those links away from the ramp as well. So he was able to get a couple of kills for free. Then did a really good job in saving a few links. But it's always that moment where they sometimes go for the queen, sometimes go for the hatch, and it's like, what do I do? Went for the queen, and then he actually left a tiny bit too early. So he had to come back, lost a few more links, and that's just where it becomes painful, because if you're working off one hatchery, you can be losing Zerglings left and right.
Exactly. You do not have that that massive kind of production. You got one hatchery, one queen going. It's like, okay, every 30 seconds you get a round of lava. In between that, there's nothing popping out. The defensive player, Solar in that case, had 2 hatcheries pumping out the whole time. He's got the defender's advantage of queen. So the moment you lose that initial round of Zerglings, everything kind of just filters down and your aggression falls apart very quickly.
Well, Pig, those were 2 very quick brains. Brains. My brain is actually not working yet. Might be the heat over here in Shanghai. 2 very quick games. We're going to continue game number 3 soon, which will be played on Proxima, but not before. We're going to head over to a very small break. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai. We are diving straight on into map number 3 here. It's been an action-packed couple of games over in the blink of an eye. And we are going to be going into game number 3, Roddy.
Quick brains, Pig. Quick brains everywhere, especially in game when these 2 Zergs go up against each other, as we're looking at the main base of the Zerg that's representing Splice. That sexy black and yellow. I like that combo. It always looks good.
Oh, yeah.
It's Solar.
Great match to the team and a very powerful player, very clever Zerg. Up here in the top right, a very mechanical Zerg, a player who has blazed his way through the ZvZ competition in recent times with non-stop aggression. The red Zerg in the top, and it is soO.
Now, Pig, obviously you love both of these guys, but are you surprised with how aggressive soO has been playing so far in this best of 3? I mean, That's 2 games where if you squeeze it out once in the first 2 games, I think that makes a lot of sense. But I'd say, like, if you pick up a quick and easy victory like that in game number 1, why not try to play a little more straight up in game 2? Because, you know, you've got that sweet momentum going for yourself.
It's interesting because I do think that soO, you know, he knows that soO's a bit of a clever player. soO will gamble a little bit here and there. And soO is a player who I think does push towards the level of being a little bit overly aggressive, if anything. I've seen him back in Pro League last year. I think it was about 9 out of 10 Zerg vs. Zergs. He kept getting ZvZ in Pro League, and he literally did the same all-in every single time, and it worked almost every single time. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it seems to be soO's motto when it comes to attacking in ZvZ.
I see. Makes me sad though, Pig. We wait, we sit here since like 6:45 in the morning, waiting until we finally can cast the game. And then we blink twice and the score is 1-1 and we're loading into Proxima for game number 3. But things are looking all right for us over here, Pig. Maybe we can actually speak more than just 2 minutes about opening build orders and Zergling rushes, as both players have opened up with 3 hatcheries here and no extractor yet. Not something that's uncommon on Proxima. I think a lot of the European Zergs love this playstyle as well, but I'm still happy to see it.
It's really cool, you know, players just saying, look, there's only one way in on this map. It's really easy for the Overlord to scout any rush. It's really easy to defend any rush. So let's just go full on economy mode. You know, similar to the old 2 bases where you wall off with Evo Chambers and Roach Warren, this is 3 hatcheries where you can get that wall off. And the thing is, what's very important is for both players to identify what the other one's done. And if we take a look at their vision, I believe both players' Overlords should have confirmed by now that there is a hatchery at the back of their opponent's base. So they know that both players have gone 3 base.
And I feel right now they're gonna play chicken, right? What they always used to do in those old American movies where they both kind of 2 cars are riding towards each other and one has to steer left or the other has to steer right. This is like, who's gonna drop that extractor first?
Exactly.
You know? It's like they're looking, I'm still not doing it. And before you know it, we got like a 95 supply of drones. It's like, you know, I really think it's about time we take gases now, guys.
Yeah.
Seems like Solar is gonna take his gas a little bit before soO, but that was relatively similar.
Almost identical, both, right around the 3-minute 10 mark, about 45 supply. And this is pretty balanced timing. Of course, you know, you want to balance up getting that gas so you can actually get your upgrades, your tech, go into what is probably going to be a big Roach versus Roach game, you know, in a timely fashion. And
I would have been very, very sad, Big, if I cast the best of 3 ZvZ with you and I wouldn't hear you say the word roaches one time.
Oh, man.
I don't think I could follow it.
There's pretty much one way Proxima goes off these openings, and it's a lot of roaches, fighting a lot of roaches. Hopefully won't quite devolve into that that old Carbot StarCraft video where it's just roaches kind of vomiting on each other for about 10 minutes straight. But it'll be action-packed. I can guarantee that much.
So far, it's just a pure mirror. Leia's going down pretty much at the same moment. Both of the Zergs are getting an Evo Chamber as well. Now we see that Roach Warren. Is there any chance that one Zerg only makes a couple of roaches and then tries to squeeze in Inspire and bust out some Luna play?
It's an option, but I think it'll come out a little bit later. Both of these guys, because they haven't really rushed that gas at all, with the 3-hatch opening, it just doesn't mesh well to rush into those Mutilisks. If you go for more of a 2-base play with a gas, maybe get some Ling Baneling, go into fast Spire, take a 3rd hatch behind it, it works out. Off this, I think we're going to see, 2nd Evo Chamber for Solar. soO still only 1 Evo Chamber, so he might be thinking about a slightly faster transition into Mutas, maybe just Hydras and Lurkers or Infestors as well.
I like to see everything. I have one last question. If I see this opening, and I think I already know what you're going to say as the answer, but as a Protoss player, you look at this like, well, if both players open up with 3 hatch before pool and they don't take any gas, is it possible to just make like 24 links and have like 2 Dropper Lords on each side of the Zerg base? Or is it just too easy for your opponent to scout it?
I think we actually saw a Laser do that in Valencia recently as an all-in off the 3rd hatchery. So it was kind of like, I'm totally going 3 hatcheries, man. And he actually almost broke through. I think it might have been against Snoot. I'm not quite sure. And it was very close. I think he ended up losing the game, but definitely there are sneaky rushes like that. When these maps get into the meta where players just say, oh, you're not attacking, I'm not attacking, let's just build workers, players start to really take advantage of that.
Damn, look at this. soO already going up to 4 bases now, and he's dropping the hatchery at the gold. And this is probably going to line up quite nicely for a 1-1 timing of Solar, as we're keeping a close eye on everything that he's doing in the left bottom side. He's going to take his 4th base as well. It is a little bit later, but don't forget the one difference so far in this game is that Solar is working up 2 Evo Chambers, and soO is only working with a single one. So you kind of say the moment that 1-1 finishes up, that should be kind of a sweet moment for Solar to fight, because I highly doubt just because of that 1 Evo Chamber that soO is going to have way more units.
No, it shouldn't make too much difference. And I mean, as the fights get on and you have more and more roach engages, those upgrades have more and more chances to add value. So especially when +2 carapace eventually kicks in, if we get that far, that's going to make a massive difference. And look at these upgrades lining up. This is a literal mirror match right now. Everything is just completely copied on both sides.
Yeah, other than that second Evo, which obviously is a tiny bit later for Solar, but the moment that one finishes up, I wouldn't mind to see Solar push the pace shader a little bit. Try to force the issue with a little fight in the middle of the map, drops a couple of crossing balls, does not get the Overseer. But I feel like this is almost a moment to maybe go for it. Maybe he just wants to max out. Maybe he's like, well, if I have a 1-1 advantage, eventually I'll get a 2-2 advantage as well.
Oh, he doesn't want to let him contaminate that upgrade, but he dodges the vials, and both players are going to contaminate each other's upgrades at the exact same time. The mirror continues. What are we watching?
I almost felt that soO tried to like move his Overseer in an awkward angle there and try to bite bait out a couple of those crosser balls that would potentially land on drones being transferred. That would have been very cute if he was able to pull that one off. I don't know what that Roach was doing there, but...
Oh, double contaminate here. The first deviance between the players. Only one Overseer out for Solar. So he's only able to delay that +2 upgrade once, whereas it's delayed twice on Solar's side of the map. So Solar is going to be falling behind in that +2 attack, which is very important.
Yeah.
He still has not started +2 carapace just yet.
As it finishes off, I mean, both players are maxed out. Any chance we'll see some supply tricks? Maybe more a couple of spores, or not yet?
I don't think so. Both players not having massive banks just yet, but I mean, it's getting to that point where one player needs to make a move. Either one of them needs to make a decision here. I mean, almost identical counts, just a few more roaches for Solar, one more Ravager on soO's side of the map. I think soO is just going to wait for +2 to finish, and the moment that hits, he is going to go for a massive attack.
Well, no tunneling claws just yet, but a couple of roaches do run by. We're getting a little bit of first-person view here from soO, which is awesome. I'm curious to see how he's going to handle this massive army of Solar. As Solar used a couple of roaches to pull his army out of position, but the defender's advantage should be enough, right?
I think so. The concave management is actually a little bit better for soO. You can see his roaches wrapping around the south side. He keeps dodging those biles very well. Oh. Look at that, just moves out of them. Solar eats a few biles. I think soO might barely have enough, but the Ravagers on the north are getting focused down.
I think soO is actually cleaning up over here as he has most of the roaches taken care of, and these other units are a little bit exposed. It's going to be very hard, I think, for Solar to get out of there. A couple of units do manage to get... I don't think that soO should let him. Like, why not? And that's exactly what soO should be doing. He goes right back, jumps on those roaches, and gets 5, 6, 7 units here pretty much for free. Well done there by
Solar
soO.
did such a good job up to that point. Moving back in with that Roach Ravager, I think, was a really big mistake. He was actually up in supply a little bit.
His rally, I think. I think
maybe
a little too fast. Or maybe, you know, sometimes if you click too fast, your units suddenly are like, oh, yeah, we could have gone via the left top side, but I believe the south side is faster. And yeah, we know that the south side is faster, but there's an entire army there. What are you doing? So I think that's an all right fight for soO, but of course, both players have quite a bit of money in the bank. So things are definitely not over yet for Solar. And don't forget, Solar still has 2-1. It's a shame he never started +2 carapace.
And now, I mean, now we just get into a wrestling match. It's all about dodging the biles, constantly throwing down these biles. You'll notice they try to spread them out a little bit to force a lot of dodging, a lot of maneuvers. Whenever those roaches are moving, they're not fighting. And Solar, he is falling apart right now. soO's actually managing to break through. He's getting in the drone line.
soO just had more Ravagers and excellent use of the bow ability here as well, even though he eats a couple of his own crossing balls there in the end. But he can just get this hatchery. He should be able to get it. And now he can just back off. He's still up 20, 30 supply. Well done by soO. It was really cool to see that first-person view of soO when he's controlling a maxed-out army.
And this is one of those, you know, really odd games of StarCraft where both players almost copy each other identically. But now at this point where soO has such a big advantage in terms of income, you can see it in that bottom, bottom numbers popping up down there. About 500 to 700 minerals more a minute right now, which is a lot more roaches. And Solar actually not confident retaking the gold. He's got to retake his 4th on the left-hand side. Meanwhile, soO's going up to a 5th base.
So
this
I have a
really
question for you, Pick.
Yeah.
Because often in this phase in the game, I don't understand why you would ever not get Burrow. You know, look how rich soO is. And a lot of his roaches are often bruised before they enter battle, and I just don't get that.
I think that gas is so mineral, you know, it's so intensive. And at this point, it definitely could be squeezed in there, but Players are much more focused on the micro, much more focused on the Roach Ravager dance right now. soO defending really well here, dodging all of the biles. He's actually forcing soO to walk into them. soO does still have the numbers advantage right here, but as the reinforcements get out for soO, he might just barely have enough numbers to hang on.
This looks a lot better for soO than these previous battles, and he's microing his units excellently as well. He has to make sure he doesn't eat those biles, and he doesn't. And this time, the Splice Zerg does push back soO, even though he eats another crossbow there in the end. Obviously, that doesn't mean that soO is suddenly winning this game, because he's still quite broke compared to soO, but that was an excellent hold.
Still no +2 carapace for soO. soO's about to get his own +1 carapace. That is, yeah, a lot of drones did get evacuated there. I believe the little Roach counterattack actually made its way in. Did miss that one myself as well, but both players on not too drastically different economies. But, I mean, soO's up 20 army supply. soO's got the equal upgrades now. And most importantly of all, he has a good Ravager count. But actually, soO up at 13 Ravagers now. Wow, he really preserved all of his Ravagers in that last fight. Very well done. Yeah,
the positioning was beautiful. That was just an excellent defensive position for him to begin with. This time, soO is not totally ready, but obviously it's going to be hard for soO to normally push in here. soO that is, but soO doesn't care. He's just going to go for it. And I have the feeling a lot of units from soO were not here yet. They were in production. And this could very well be the end, as I think soO just has way too much here.
Very confident, decisive push there from soO. Takes a cheeky win in game one with a fast Zergling rush. Almost sneaks away with game number 2, but in the end does take it out in game 3 with a big old Roach push. And just decisive play from him. Of course, that is one of those games where both players were mirrored for so long in that game. And I really do think soO was doing okay with that push on the gold, but he needed to get those Roaches and Ravagers out. Losing all those Roaches and Ravagers, accidentally moving them back through soO's army, and it just undid him. soO took that momentum, he ran away with it, he pushed in and finished the game off very easily.
Yeah, I like the setup of the attack as well, right? All game long, nothing happens, and suddenly he's like, hey, I'm gonna run 4 Roaches into your natural, and it's kind of obvious, but at the same time, you're like, hey, don't kill my drones. You know, you pull a bunch of units to deal with those 4 Roaches, and before you know it, there is a maxed out Zerg, you know, in front of your gold base, and things could get very, very tricky there, but soO handled that excellently.
It was really nice the way he was both dodging biles and moving forwards down the ramp, because you need to get out of that choke point. You need to assert that concave. And I do think soO maybe could have spread his Roaches and Ravagers a little bit further south, had a bigger arc when soO was coming in down that ramp to defend the gold base. Unfortunately, didn't quite work out for soO. soO will be progressing through to the round of 8. Guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in just a minute.
Welcome to the post-game interview of first progressor out of the Group C. It is soO. 자, 어윤 선수 게임 정말 화끈하게 하십니다. 혹시 어제 핫팟을 먹었는데 전태양 선수의 그 뭐랄까 기도 메타에 이은 핫팟 버프가 아닌지 yesterday, TY said that the pray meta is a new way to go through the Jing'an Temple. Now, we had a hotpot last night, and I feel like the aggression came out of that.
핫팟을 어제 밤늦게까지 먹어서 좀 속이 안 좋긴 했는데 좀 결과가 좋게 나오니까 핫팟 버프가 맞는 것 같아요.
No, we had a hotpot yesterday. We ate really late night because of the long lineup. This morning, my stomach didn't feel very great, but maybe that was a butterfly that led me to the victory. 자, 그리고 이병렬 선수랑 저랑 앉아서 뒤에서 경기를 보고 있었거든요. 이병렬 선수가 둘 다 고집이 참 세서 이렇게 파멸 대 파멸하면은 전혀 체제를 바꾸지 않을 거다라고 예언을 했는데 예측이 맞아 떨어졌습니다. 자기 같았으면은 맹독을 좀 섞었을 거라고 하는데 이거에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시는지요? 자, just now while we're watching the last game between soO and soO, I was sitting with Rogue watching the game, and Rogue actually said and predicted that these two guys are way too stubborn to change their composition, because Rogue said he would have mixed in Lings, Zerglings and Banelings. What do you think about that?
병렬이가 그런 말을 했다는 게 좀 놀랍고.
왜 놀랍죠?
약간 저를 평가하는 느낌을 받아서 저랑 만나고 싶네요. 병렬이랑 만나고 싶네요.
You know, I'm really shocked that Rogue had guts to evaluate me. You know, I look forward to seeing him in the next round and above. 자, 그리고 마지막으로 그러면은 아까 첫 경기 때 온라인으로 진행됐었던 타임 선수와 경기에서 한 세트를 내줬어요. 혹시 김대엽 선수가 보이신 건 아니었는지. In the one that was played on the laptop, soO versus Time, the first match, he dropped the set to Time, which looked a lot like what happened to Stats last night. Entire last night at the hotel, all we're doing was basically making fun of Stats. So.
IEM 대진표가 떴을 때부터 저그전, 토스전은 연습 안 하고 테란전만 했거든요. 그래가지고. 근데 졌어요. 근데 한 판 지긴 했지만 많이 연습 안 했으면은 제가 그냥 떨어졌을 수도 있을 것 같아요. 그만큼 좀 당황했고 왠지 좀 타임 선수 올라갈 수도 있을 것 같아요.
You know, when the bracket first came up, only race I practiced against was Terran. I didn't practice for Zerg or Protoss. I just focused on Terran. And even though I dropped the set, I really see great potential in Time. And I feel like there's a chance that Time could even advance in the finals round. All right, thank you very much, soO. Back to you, Castus.
Well, I have really bad news for you, soO, because Time did already fall. Caleris, why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, he's gone, unfortunately. It was pretty clean cut against Hero going into some of those games. We saw glimpses of the first game where Hero was going for the proxy Stargate, using some aggression there. Going into the second game, I have a small replay, not too much to show you here, as we get this unpaused and good to go. Now, notice, though, of course, this Oracle already has 14 kills because it got 14 workers in the initial push from this Stargate down towards the bottom. Continue to make Phoenix from that point on, and then if we unpause and follow this lovely pack of units here, there wasn't really much that Time actually had to delay any kind of push that was coming in. So that was all revelated as well. And if we just pause in just a moment, you'll see a lovely little split that we see coming from here. So he sends his Phoenix to the left-hand side, sends his Oracles to the right-hand side. And already you can see that Time has very limited resources available to him with the composition that he has, because he's only just finished this engineering base, so he didn't even have turrets to protect his mineral lines. So as we continue on, the Phoenix are posing a threat on the left-hand side. The Oracles are going to eventually swing down to that expansion there and get some more kills. And that sets Time behind like 20 or so workers, to the point where eventually another push comes, and then Hero is able to round out the series.
Well, it definitely looked like, unfortunately, a little bit of a one-sided series for our Chinese Terran, and he is eliminated, getting 4th place in this group, which means that Hero and solar will have a rematch there to see who gets out in 2nd place after soO.
Yeah, and it's always kind of crazy when I watch Hero play nowadays, because he's always this kind of a little bit cheesy, a little bit aggressive Protoss that's playing his own weird style, and there's so many proxy Stargates constantly. I'm like, is this always going to continue working for you, Hero? Is this going to be the way to win a tournament? I don't know with the caliber of players that are at this tournament at the moment.
Well, maybe he'll find a place to proxy against solar and get 14 kills to open up again. I mean, that's always a good way to win, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a win is a win, and he has a lot of interesting ways to do it. He's had his series against solar. He's had a moment to think about it. I'd love to see Hero, win in the rematch here, but soO's going to be feeling pretty good about that one coming into it, having already sorted him out in the first series.
Well, that decider match we're going to hold off on just for a little bit. We will be showing that on the main stage. But our next matchup is going to be Innovation against Maru.
Ooh.
Which is a pretty wildly odd. Like, these are the two Terrans. Let's not forget that, like, kept Terran not getting patched all the time during Heart of the Storm calls. So, the two Terran hopes of the world going back at it here today.
It's always great to see Maru on Intel Extreme Masters stage as well. We saw him get the victory just before or whatever, but whenever you think about Maru in the Intel Extreme Masters, I personally think back to the best of 7 against the man who shall not be named. That is one of the most watched series of all time in StarCraft II, and that's the kind of caliber that you expect from Maru constantly, time and time again. So I'm going to be excited to see how he's going to do going into this next series.
Well, he has seemed pretty relaxed all day long. Look at that. Everything getting set up for him, just chilling like a villain. And I think that he is a good pick for any tournament. Already having won in this WCS year, a tournament for Intel Extreme Masters in Gyeonggi.
That's right. He's also an SSL champion. He's been doing pretty well lately. His TVT is outstanding whenever I see Innovation play TVT. But that said, though, I would have said that about Bjorn. In fact, I did say that about Bjorn in his series, and Maru just went, see you later, get out of my game. And I think that Maru, I would actually, when I see the series against Bjorn, even though Innovation's a different beast, I think Maru is actually going to be my favorite into this one.
Wow, okay.
What's very important as well for Innovation is whilst Bjorn Maru was going on, Innovation was sat right next to me down on the couches watching those games very, very intently, and especially when we go into the first-person mode, the pro gamers kind of lean forwards a little bit and start really paying attention to when they're able to see exactly how they're microing things. So, Innovation's watched that previous series and will kind of assimilate some of that information going up against Maru.
All right. Well, we want to get into this match as quickly as is possible, but first, of course, a commercial break. Don't go anywhere.